We last caught up with Tito and the partisans after the fall of their experimental republic in Užice, which was conquered by the Germans and their allies in November 1941, forcing the partisans to morph back into a guerrilla force and flee west into Italian-controlled Montenegro and Croatian-controlled Bosnia. Not only was Tito taking the opportunity to learn from their successes and failures in Užice, but the partisans also began reorganizing, building a new base of support, and planning for a new territorial operation to take place in the summer. The Germans and Italians preempted that with the spring counterinsurgency campaign. However, the partisans were able to fight their way out of their headquarters in Foča, heading for western Bosnia and the Krajina while fighting all the way. Tito later hailed this as the Partisan Long March, a sort of Yugoslav version of Chairman Mao's Long March. As the partisans' frantic escape moved to the northwest, they began securing towns along the way. The guerrilla retreat transitioned directly to the planned territorial campaign, except it was now taking place in the fall and was now centered on Bihać instead of Foča. The battle for Bihać itself commenced in early November. On the 4th, the partisans captured the city from the Croatians and their German allies. With Bihać now the centerpiece, connecting all the territories they'd captured during the summer and fall, the partisans declared the creation of a Bihać Republic. This linked up all the recently captured areas, extending from western Bosnia through the Bosnian and Croatian Krajina down to the Dalmatian coast. By the 15th, all remaining enemy forces had been cleared from the area. On the 26th, attempting to learn from the mistakes of Užice, and with increased international attention now focused on the partisans, they formed the Anti-Fascist Council for the National Liberation of Yugoslavia. This brought together the representatives of several guerrilla resistance movements, most of which were comprised of communists, but not exclusively. They set up a coalition government in Bihać, and though this second experimental state was still officially a republic, and still essentially led by Tito, it made no decision on the post-war fate of the pre-war monarchy, while also maintaining a less revolutionary character than the previous partisan state in Užice. While the Allies still did not officially support the partisans, the rival royalist Chetniks were now at the height of their collaboration with the Germans and Italians, meaning that increasingly Allied attention was focusing on potential support for the partisans, another reason they were appealing to a broader base this time around. Throughout the early weeks of December, the partisans continued to expand their territory as well. The most successful example was the Bosnian Croat town of Livno, which by the 15th was under solid partisan control. All these developments did not go unnoticed by the Germans. The very next day, German commander in Southeast Europe Alexander Löhr was given orders directly from Hitler to once again crush the upstarts. The Germans and Italians would be joined in this instance by the Serbian royalist Chetniks. Although the Germans and Italians had enabled the massacre of Serbs by their Croat allies, Mihailovic's focus was now on attempting to, quote, liberate this Serb territory from communist terror. He also blamed Bosnian Muslims for collaborating with the Croat authorities against the Serbs, and although nominally working to restore Croatian sovereignty, the Chetniks were mainly there to protect the Bosnian Serbs, seeing the Croats' Muslim collaborators as dangerous to those interests. This Chetnik March on Bosnia, as it became known, directed against not just the communist partisans but also the longtime Muslim population, occurred in parallel to the German and Italian advance. Their campaign, although not grounded in local ethnic rivalry like the Chetniks, was no less brutal. Orders called for, quote, extreme severity, with all partisans to be shot, all towns and villages razed to the ground, and civilians expelled or, if uncooperative, sent to camps. The German High Command prohibited its officers in the field from disciplining subordinates for excessive harshness. Thus, the stage was set for a ravenous total war scenario. The Axis advance began on January 20th, the plan being to converge from all directions around Bihać. In addition to their exposed flanks, the partisans also found themselves outnumbered at least 3-1. For the first 4 days, Axis forces made very little progress in any direction. However, a renewed push began on the 24th, led by the elite 7th SS Prince Eugen Division, composed largely of Germans from the nearby Banat, where a German administration had been set up. By the 29th, they'd successfully recaptured Bihać. The partisans held on elsewhere, while also now battling their way further south and east. Although the Axis pursuit recaptured the lost territory by March 5th, the partisans were now engaged in what was effectively a second long march. This became known as the Battle of the Neretva River, with Tito's forces repeatedly crossing the river and blowing bridges, only to double back and climb up their destroyed remnants just to continue following the path of least resistance. The return to guerrilla tactics would again be temporary, as Tito's forces awaited their next territorial campaign on the long and bloody road to a restored Yugoslav state. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment for the algorithm. For more content like this, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so you know when the next video is posted. Be sure to check out the project that forms the basis for these videos at apoliticalworldmap.org. And if you can, please sign up for our Patreon to keep the videos coming. For now, I'm Alex. I am out.